Hey, what's up, guys? It is Rapmark here.
And also Fire Try to Fly.
Awesome. So, this is coming out a little bit late, unfortunately, between like health issues and just life. We'll just go with that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, we were a little late. We saw this Sunday, the new It movie.
Indeed, it was awesome.
Oh yeah, it was super fun. It was probably one of the best like creepy movies I've ever seen.
I would agree.
Like, and I'm gonna say this right out. If you're looking for a scary film, it is probably not for you. Like, there were very little jump scares, and if you want like a creepy vibe full of like just messed up situations, it is definitely a good one for you. It's got great character development. It's got a great story. I mean, we all know the story. I'm sure a lot of us have seen the original one that was adapted for television with Tim Curry as the original Pennywise.
Indeed.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. For this one, the Pennywise was played by Bill Skarsgård, who younger brother of Alexander.
Indeed. He was definitely creepy looking.
Indeed.
But again, I don't like clowns.
Yeah. Yeah, clowns are creepy. Clowns are definitely creepy. But yeah, it was so, I mean, obviously, I'm not going to go into like overwhelming stories, but just to touch up on the story, you know, it's obviously focuses around this group of kids who are bullied, called the Loser Club, is it?
Yep, they're the Losers Club.
Yeah, the Losers Club.
Yep.
And yeah, their sort of fight against this immortal demonic entity that comes back periodically to this town of it's Derry. Derry or Derry?
It's Derry.
Derry.
D-E-R-Y.
Okay, yeah. Well, that's why I was just like Derry. Whatever. But yeah, I mean, in terms of just the creepy factor, like it did such a good job. Like, it wasn't quite as funny as when Tim Curry does it, but it does the creepy so much better. Like, even when he smiles, like, it's just this creep, like his teeth. It's like he has these buck chickmunk teeth, huh? When he smiles.
I'd agree.
And the reveal with the balloons and all that stuff. Like I said, I'm not going to get into too much of like story and like spoilers here. I'll do that at the next spoiler section of this review.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so taking a moment just to give props off to Bill Skarsgård. I mean, I've looked at him and it seems like what he's best known for is like the Atomic Blonde movie. Has that come out or is that coming out?
That I do not know. I actually wasn't even aware of that movie, truly, to be honest.
It's been listed around.
I'm sure it has, but me.
Yeah, you've kind of been out of it for a few days.
My brain?
So,
seriously?
yeah, but anyway, but also Hemlock Grove.
Okay,
I'm
I
sure
know that one.
Yeah, he was in that.
That's cool.
Yeah, he was one of the main people in that. So, yeah, this is like his first big role, and honestly, with the performance that he gave, not to mention he's guaranteed another movie chance to just play it off again. This could be his breakout role. This could put him, you know, at par's length with his brother.
Great.
Like, he did a great job.
Thumbs up, definitely. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and let's talk about like the kids. Like, the kids were amazing, and they were like super young too.
I definitely agree.
Like, I mean, in the original one, I mean, they were young, but you got almost the sense of like still like preteen, like maybe like early teenagers. You know, they did look older.
Yeah, I could agree with that one.
You know, these ones definitely were little kids. Like
kids.
the oldest looking ones probably were Bill and Beverly. I mean, I think they're all the same age.
Yeah.
But I mean, those two, at least that oldest looked 13. I mean, there were kids in there that looked like they could have been 8.
Yeah.
It
I can agree
was,
with that.
yeah, it was pretty nuts.
Indeed.
Yeah, like, who was your favorite kid?
I mean, definitely when you're looking at, of course, the original, based on, of course, the new adaptation of it.
Mm-hmm.
The original one, definitely, Richie was my favorite.
Was it just because it was a young Seth Green?
No,
Okay.
just because I thought he was adorably cute and funny.
Okay.
At the time when I first saw it, of course, I was much younger.
Oh
And
yeah.
it scared the living shit out of me when I was younger.
Oh yeah. It scared the shit out of me when I was younger too. I think I was 4 when my brother like was watching it and I watched it too. It was,
Yeah. It was crazy. Needless to say there.
but yeah, who's your favorite of this new one?
I mean, definitely I would feel like out of the new cast itself for the kids, I mean, definitely I still enjoyed the kid that played Richie on this one. I would say still, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say actually out of just acting and just everything that was going on, I think actually Beverly was my favorite.
I can see that. I can see that. And I'll bet it's because it's kind of relatable to you, isn't it?
A little bit.
Indeed. My favorite, I would have to say, oh my gosh, that's such a tough call.
They're all.
I'd have to say Eddie though,
I can see that too.
because he's kind of relatable to me, if you think about it.
Indeed.
Indeed. Anyway, yeah. But yeah, I mean, they did a great job for how young these kids were. I mean, it's amazing how much, like, actual development you got from these kids.
Mhm.
Like, you have kids from broken homes, you have, kids dealing with, like, very adult issues.
Mhm.
And again, I'm not going to get into it in this one, but, I mean, they did great, and you actually felt for these kids.
Oh yeah, that's definitely for sure.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, even the bully, like Henry Bowers, I mean, in the first one, I mean, he was obviously as a bully, but he was, he came off as more like the preppy prickster rather than this one. He was like clearly disturbed.
Yep.
Like, and you find out why later in the movie, but I mean, him and his crew, that it was brutal, like the things they did.
Mm-hmm. Very intense indeed.
Yeah, and like Georgie, I think he did a great job. I mean, it's a
He
small.
was so cute.
Yeah, he was adorable, and unlike in the adaptation, he was actually in the movie more. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you saw him in a couple obviously in a few flashbacks in like the second part of the movie, but in this one, like it was actually like he was there, and
I know.
yeah,
like
we'll
he
get
was
into
an actual real character instead of it being like just a play on of course what just happened, of course to him during that time, and it's just flashing back to it.
Yeah, and even the parents, like as side characters, they were still pretty good. I mean, you get the sense of like devastation and loss from Georgie and Bill's parents. You get the sense of just like how all of them, like, honestly, I'd have to say my favorite one was probably Eddie's mom, just because
you relate so much.
Yeah, beyond that, like, she really played the part of like this mother who was so overconcerned that she literally prevented him from going anywhere.
Yeah.
And it was just like, wow. And then just like the ending, I won't get into specifics, but the ending was like, if you remember the first part of the TV one, it was really CGI, really kind of, cheesy, wonky, but epic at the same time.
It definitely was.
Yeah, this one, it had sort of the CGI at the very end, like, you know, but at the it was definitely far less like epic on a scale, but it gave it a greater sense of triumph, I believe.
Mhm.
If that makes sense. Like, what did you think of how it ended?
I mean, definitely, I feel like definitely the way it ended, it felt more definitely real.
Oh yeah, I would totally agree with this. Like, this has been one of the best horror films I've ever seen since
Mm-hmm.
probably the original Amity.
Indeed.
In terms of creepy factor, I mean there are ones that are scary and like have shock value, like Sinister. I enjoyed, but that was also like it was creepy and messed up, but it was like also full of a lot of jump scares.
Mm-hmm.
This one had
And I
very
enjoyed
few.
it.
This one had very few.
I do. I definitely agree. Yes.
Yeah, but it had the whole pace of just like creepiness. So
Is it a little sad though? I was waiting for you to jump every single time, but you didn't.
it wasn't scary.
I know.
It wasn't scary. None of it was. Well, I mean, there were a couple maybe jump scares, but no, it wasn't scary. It was just creepy. It was entertainingly creepy, and I loved it. I would recommend everyone and anyone go see this movie.
Agree. Definitely agree. I would definitely see it again in all the different formats, truly, to be honest, other than just the.
Oh, you know we're going to see it again. You know we're going to see it again.
Indeed. I'm just saying ourselves. Definitely 3D. Also, D-Box they do here. Oh, of course, the movement of the seats. Yeah. Awesome. I would do every single one.
Indeed. So, what would you say is your score for this out of 10?
Out of 10? Definitely at the top there. So I'd say 9,000.
No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that.
I'm making a joke.
I know.
So no, I would say definitely a 10. I loved it.
10 out of 10?
Yep. 10
there wasn't anything you disliked or thought was... I will say this. There were a couple of CGI effects which to me seemed a little out of place and somewhat over the top.
Mm-hmm.
So...
For me, again, myself, it's a little bit harder for me, I would say, because, again, medical issues. My brain was fried. Yes, Sunday I was feeling a little bit more like myself, but from what I saw, everything, it was awesome. I had no real complaints, truly be honest.
Alright, so 10 out of 10 from you?
Yeah.
Alright, well my score, if I was going by half points, I'd give it a 9.5, but honestly, like, I'm giving it a 10 out of 10 too. I'm giving it a 10 out of 10 because it hit all the points it needed to. It kept up the nostalgia while at the same time keeping closer to the book, adding the parts while at the same time never breaking the mood. Like, the mood was never broken in it. So, 10 out of 10. Go see this.
Indeed. Yeah, I love the special effects. That was in it. That's one of my favorite parts, always.
Oh, yeah. Now, to the spoiler section. Alright, so, once again, for those who don't know the story, it's, again, about a bunch of kids who go up against this entity who shows up as this clown called Pennywise, the dancing clown.
Yep.
You know, he's come back to the town of Derry multiple times, every, 27 years, is it?
I believe so. Again, my brain is, just coming back, so from what I remember, I believe so.
Yeah, and he feasts upon people, mostly kids, because fear, is what makes the food appetizing to him.
Mm-hmm.
So the scarier you are, the more likely you are to be eaten, and he'll try to scare you. And oh my gosh, the freaking amount of different things you see him in this movie is insane. Like, in the original one, it was just Pennywise pretty much, and then at the end of the second part, it was a spider.
I know, but that will be coming, of course, later.
Yeah, but this one, I mean, it was everything. I mean, Stan saw the creepy old woman Eddie saw the freaking leper, all that stuff. It was Bill kept seeing his brother.
I know.
That was the
so
heart-wrenching part.
I know. It was so sad.
Like, especially at the end, like, you just see him put the thing in there, and you just see Georgie, like, wince up, and it's just like, wait, no. And then it's just like, no, Georgie's dead. Yeah, it was a good call. It'd be tough.
Very, very tough.
But and I'll cover this later. That was one of the CGI effects that I was just like, I thought was a little bit out of place, but I'll go into that a little bit later. But oh my gosh, and all the kids with all the problems they had to deal with. I mean, Bill had to deal with obviously the grief and the fact that his parents just wanted to forget
about it. I know, it's horrible.
Like, could you imagine that?
I would be devastated, don't get me wrong, if it was my own child that I lost. But I would not want to ever forget about him. I'd probably be one of those that I would have a shrine for my child.
Indeed.
Pretty much, because I would be so devastated I would miss him.
Yeah, and then Beverly, like, the fact that her father was, like, apparently doing inappropriate things.
Yeah, I could never fully imagine that myself, and it's horrible.
And at the end, like, do you think he deserved what he got? Essentially a toilet lid to his head and killed him?
I think definitely there was no good out in this situation, in this case.
He was after it at the time.
I know. But I'm just saying there was no good out in this case. I mean, because that's going to be devastating, of course, to her.
Oh, yeah.
But definitely, I mean, for everything he was doing, yeah, he deserved something horrible to happen to him. Sorry to say, but he did.
Yeah, it was messed up.
So.
Yeah, and you don't learn much about Richie's family, just sort of him.
Yeah.
And then Mike, you of course his parents perished in a fire years earlier. He's being raised by his grandfather, who has a very, like, how would you describe his attitude? I don't think I can phrase it correctly. Like, do you remember him as that well?
I mean, he's definitely very much. I definitely think more, of course, of the original one. I'm trying to remember fully from this one. Again, brain still coming to.
I know, just whatever you can. If we have to move on, we can.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Mike seems the more one that's into the historical stuff, because he gets that from his grandfather. His grandfather is very into what is going on. He's very guarded on what is happening as well, and he wants to put some kind of blame somewhere. He's trying to figure out what's going on, but he kind of projects this onto Mike, is what I get.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and then of course you have the mama's boy, good old Eddie. Oh my gosh,
he was cute.
I thought he was adorable. Like, I was not expecting him to turn out like he did. Like, I mean, from the original one, I mean, obviously it's a lot different, but I mean, it was like the way they portrayed him. I mean, literally, he was just like this little kid who his mom was just keeping him pent up.
I know,
and he finally stood up to her.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I would probably be one of those mothers who does worry a lot. But I don't think, with how I was definitely brought up in that, I don't think I would want to keep him guarded as much as I kept myself, especially. Although losing my best friend, that did not help.
Indeed,
at such a young age.
Indeed.
But no, I would not ever want to do that for my child.
Yeah, it's just like, it's ridiculous. Like, you can't see your friends anymore.
Yeah. No, I would not do that. Only time I would just be like, no, you cannot see your friends, is, again, punishment. But other than that, no, it's like, please, go. Go be with them.
Yeah. And then, of course, Stanley, who... It didn't touch on this in the original one, at least I don't think it did. But yeah, he's apparently a Jewish boy.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like his parents are like in the movie you see him like trying to do his Turan reading, which is, you know, obviously the where you read a scripture of the Turan, which is the Jewish Bible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it can include the Old Testament, but I believe it has a couple other books that the normal King James version doesn't have.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's for a bar mitzvah, I believe, or something.
Yes, I believe so, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, which is like a coming of age thing for the Jewish culture. And yeah, he definitely gets the butt end of everything in that. Like toward the end, he literally almost gets eaten by Pennywise. Like they get him, his mouth is around his face. Like he's literally being eaten, and they get him off somehow.
I know.
Like it's no wonder, and like spoiler alert for the next movie. Yeah, no wonder he kills himself. That would be horribly traumatizing, and I wouldn't want to go back.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, if it sticks true to the TV version, it's been a while since I've read the book, so I believe he commits suicide in the book as well, but I don't remember just because it's been so long since I read the book.
Yeah.
But yeah, he commits suicide in the second part in the TV series, so I assume that's going to happen to him here. I don't know whether or not it's in, like, whether it's going to be, like, before he comes into town, like, just when he gets the call, or if it's going to be in town and something triggers it. I don't know. So, yeah, but
we will see.
Indeed.
That's for sure. We will definitely see, because we will be there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. But, oh, my God, Bill Skarsgård,
oh, my goodness.
Like, you see him in just so many different things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, the creepy woman for Stanley. Eddie has, like, the man with boils all over Bill with his brother.
Mm-hmm.
And then how he torments Mike, like, just remember when he's outside the butcher shop and he just shows his parents just, like, burning up.
Yep.
Like, how messed up is that?
That's horrible. Very, very horrible.
Yeah, he did like, oh my gosh, and then Richie's Fear of Clowns.
Mm-hmm.
Being in a room and all of a sudden it's just filled with clowns that look like Pennywise.
Yep.
And then they had a lot of close calls.
Mm-hmm.
Like, holy crap.
Holy cow.
Eddie, like, broke his arm falling down to the hole in the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
Almost got eaten himself.
Yep. It was nuts.
Richie had a close call.
Mm-hmm.
Bill had a close call. He was almost taken down.
Mm-hmm.
Though I wonder what it was. Like, toward the end, like, Pennywise essentially says, if you let me take Bill, I will let you guys go to thrive until only time returns you to the weeds. I think was close to the line, right?
I believe so, yeah.
You know, I question whether or not he would have fell through with that, or whether that was just an attempt to divide them and then just eat them all anyway.
More than likely. He is Pennywise after all.
Mm-hmm. But man, it was just so creepy, like, especially when they went to, like, his lair and all those bodies of the kids he had killed just floating around.
That'd be so horrible.
Mm-hmm.
So horrible, indeed.
Yeah, it was nuts.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And also the special effects with him, like him coming out of the fridge, like he's all folded in half and rolled into a ball practically, and then he just slowly jerks back into place and before he attacks Eddie.
Yeah, that was just creepy and just overall just horrible. If I saw that in real life, it would scare the living shit out of me.
Or when Beverly was taken to his lair and like he comes out and it's like this old-timey scene and he's just like dancing with this like grin on his face.
It was awesome.
Before he attacks her, and yeah, it was super cool.
Indeed.
Yeah, the only effect that there were a couple. I don't remember all of them off the top of my head. Again, it was a few days late. I mean, I probably would have had more detail for stuff had it been day of, but again, life. But yeah, the one thing, like, after, how he was pretending to be Georgie,
Mm-hmm.
and then Bill put the bolt and shot him through the head,
Mm-hmm.
like, the sort of transformation of his body into Pennywise again, I thought for the movie that I can see what they were trying to do, but I thought it came out a little bit hokey, if that makes sense. Like, do you remember what I'm talking about?
I kind of vaguely remember that scene.
Mm-hmm.
And I can kind of see that, but again, overall.
I mean, I don't think it was terrible. I just don't think it quite hit the mark for the movie, if that makes sense.
I can see that. But again, overall. Jesus.
Yeah. I mean, there are a couple more. I'm sorry, I just can't remember off the top of my head. It's been a couple days, so.
Sadly, life.
But yeah, honestly, I hope the best for Bill. I hope this is his
I
breakout role, like, because it did massive numbers.
Oh,
It was
I know,
the
seriously.
third largest release of this year,
Mm-hmm.
and the only reason why it probably could have gotten higher numbers if it hadn't been for the two hurricanes.
Yep.
That took out 5 to 6%
Mm-hmm.
of its profits. So
Indeed.
yeah, that's crazy. And then obviously Henry Bowers and his gang.
Oh, I know.
Like, in the original, it didn't even, it barely touched on his gang. It's just like you had Henry Bowers and then you had his gang, and that was it.
He was just a big bully, and his gang that followed that were bullies too. They didn't care.
Yeah, this one, actually, I mean, it's still kind of like that, but you actually get a sense that his gang actually has personality.
Mm-hmm. And there's a more sympathetic reason why he is the way he is.
Like, I mean, essentially, his father is like the chief of police of Derry,
Mm-hmm.
and he has been like just terrorizing his son for like ages.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's one scene toward the end, like, where it finally just snaps and he kills his dad.
Yep.
With the help of Pennywise. Obviously.
Yep.
But yeah, he was supposed to be cleaning his gun, and instead he uses it for target practice, like finally telling one of his friends to get a cat so he can shoot it.
Mm-hmm.
And his dad fortunately walks out at that time, and you just think, all right, so he messed up. But no, then the dad just turns around, shoots the gun at his feet. And I'm just like, whoa!
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's messed up. Like, you get a feeling that, okay, this is like a cop. Like, this isn't a caring father. This is a cop on a power trip.
Mm-hmm.
Who is using, like, abusive techniques to discipline his son.
Mm-hmm. Not gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean, it was really, really bad.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I get it, but I mean, he was still pretty fucked up. I mean, he essentially took Ben, the big kid,
Mm-hmm.
and freaking carved his name into his stomach.
Oh.
Like, that wasn't in the original version, I'll tell you that right now.
That was so bad.
Yeah, it's just like, what the hell?
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention all the other horrible things.
I know.
Yeah,
crazy stuff.
Yeah, and like obviously one of his gang got taken out early, so it shows you that, he still will eat older people, but he prefers children that are scared.
Yep.
I mean, your typical predator, if there's nothing else around, or if an older or even adultish person is available and scared enough, he will eat it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then, oh my gosh, Georgie, like you remember the attack in the first one. It was pretty tame. It's just he's talking it, and then it's just like, you'll float too. Whereas in this one, it was just like he literally bit Georgie's arm off, and Georgie like was trying to get away.
Mm-hmm. It was crazy and so sad.
Yeah. But then Georgie like still comes back periodically. Like, it's Pennywise obviously messing with Bill's head.
Oh, of course.
But he royally messes with him.
Mm-hmm.
is just like in his basement, where it's just like, I'm sorry,
sorry.
I lost the boat. It's like, come down with me and you'll float too. 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 And then Pennywise attacks. Like, that's crazy. Not to mention the touching moment where he finally just, Bill, like, I think he always knew, but he didn't fully accept the fact that he was just never going to see Georgie again. And I think the moment he realized it, like, that was a truly touching moment where it's just like, because you literally, you know, at the end, you literally thought there was a chance that he wasn't going to do anything and he was probably going to be attacked.
Mm-hmm.
But no, he's just like, but you're not Georgie.
Yeah. But of course, I mean, even though he was older, of course, then definitely Georgie, he was still pretty young. So,
Oh yeah.
I mean, definitely the idea of not being able to see your brother ever again in this case, that is traumatizing for anybody at any age. But just again with his age, there's no way. Definitely, I understand why he would hold on to hope a little bit, but he finally comes to realization that sadly it will never happen again.
Yeah, Georgie is gone.
He's gone.
He's floating with the other missing children. Indeed. But yeah, like all the deaths too. Like there were way more deaths than there were in the television movie. Like you know, obviously Beverly, Beverly. That's her name, right? Have I gone crazy?
Yes.
Yeah, Beverly. Like her dad, she ends up killing him. Like she eventually stands up to him. It's just like, are you still my little girl? She's just like, no. And he like attacks her, and she fights him off. But yeah, she's like stuck in there. She takes the lid off the toilet and hides in the shower. And when he pulls back the curtain, she just goes wham, and you just see him drop and blood just gushing from his head. So yeah, you know he's dead. And then she's taken by Pennywise like shortly afterwards, which was kind of messed up. Oh my god, the bathroom scene, the blood in the bathroom scene. That was way better than the first one, huh? Like, holy crap. She was literally attacked. I thought the hair, that was another thing. Like, it just seemed a little bit off. But, I mean, I still think it worked. But for me, it just felt off. I think that was another one of the effects that I was just like, I see what they were trying to do, and I think it would have worked, but it looked just a little bit off to me.
I can see that. But again, I thought it was good.
Yeah, but I mean, aside from that nitpick, the scene was amazing. Like, there's blood everywhere. Her dad comes in, and it's just like, there's blood everywhere. She's all bloody. He doesn't see anything. But you don't see what he sees. Like,
it's just what she sees.
Yeah, like that's it. I thought that was a really great way of showing that. It was nuts.
I agree. Definitely agree.
And yeah, not to mention Henry's dad, Officer Burroughs. Like, he finally just got pushed over the edge. Pennywise gives him a knife in the mail.
Yep.
And then the TV just tells him, kill him.
Kill him.
And so he just pops the switchblade right into his neck and then keeps his arm down so he can't try to blot it out. And he just bleeds out right there in his chair.
Yeah. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was violent and messed up. And not to mention what happens to Harry Burroughs. Like, he finally Mike shoves him down a well. Like, and I forget how it's put. I know he's in the second part. You know, but in the movie it just shows that, you know, he came out, you know, with white hair. He said he killed all those kids and was locked away in a mental institution. I think in the book, though, it was put a little bit differently. So I think he's still coming back. I just don't know how. Because, again, it's been a while since I've done the book. But, yeah, the ending. Finally, we'll go to the ending. And it was awesome. Like, You remember how in the end of the first one, you know, he gets sprayed with battery acid, and then a rock goes into his head, and there's like light glowing from the wound as he just floats up and goes into the deeper part of the well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like this epic, crazy thing.
Mm-hmm.
A little hokey, but kind of amusing.
It was, but at the time, of course, when I first saw it, it wasn't. It was just scary.
Yeah, whereas this one, you like saw the whole transition of the kids, like from being really scared to where they aren't scared at all. Like he tries to scare them, and it's just like he realizes they don't, and you actually see fear in his face.
Mm-hmm. It was actually pretty cool.
Yeah,
I liked it.
And finally, like the only CGI part of that was like when he was going into the well. Like he goes down, he's holding on the edge, and he's just like, his head kind of opens up, and then he just fades down the hole as they just drove him off, and he gets to starve for the next 27 years.
Yeah.
Come back later. Indeed, and that's how it ended. Beverly had to go to Oregon to stay with an aunt, because obviously her dad was dead and was messed up anyway, even if he wasn't.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And everyone else just goes home. Everyone. Yep, and then that's going to set up for the next part for when they grow up.
Indeed.
So that is something we'll hit on another time when it comes out.
Indeed.
We'll keep our eyes out, and we will definitely be doing, hopefully, more stuff.
More of these.
Yeah, more of these.
Yeah.
As they come out.
Indeed.
But anyway, I hope you enjoyed our little review reaction of the new It movie. This has been Rapmark.
And Fire Dragonfly.
And we'll see you guys next time.